Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week is sex and relationships coach, Drysdale. She is making her return to Sex Party. She was on the show a while ago. She's now back. She's also having 30, 50, 70 plus orgasms. How did she discover she could do that? How is she doing it? And if you're a vulva owner, how can you do that as well? We're also going to talk cuckolding, service subs. What is a service sub? How is Catherine getting men to come over and clean her apartment, walk her dog, all for their own sexual gratification? We're going to talk about a lot of things in this episode, some great value. It's also a lot of fun. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Drysdale.
This week's conversation.
Drysdale, welcome back to Sex Party. It's always a good day when I can say that. It's been a while. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to be back. I'm amazing. I'm living in New York City now, thriving, having my very best dating life, career life. Everything is fucking great.
So we always hear that dating in New York City is tough. Have you found that or no?
No, not at all.
Right off the bat, we're just throwing that myth. So that is a myth. We are classifying that as a myth. So are you on dating apps? Did you get a billboard or how is this working?
No billboard yet, but that's actually a really great idea. Maybe I should do a photo shoot for it. Okay. I'll let you know when it's live. But I'm mostly on dating apps. I'd say the app that I use the most frequently is Field, just because it tends to be more sex positive. And I think it's like easier to have those conversations. And I date differently than most people. Like I like to talk about sex, religion, politics, whatever at the very beginning, just to make sure we're aligned. But in terms of like sexual compatibility, like to me, that's a non-negotiable. And so I have these conversations with people normally on the app or when we move to texting before I even agree to go on a date with them. And dating in this way has actually been such a game changer because I'm only investing my actual time and energy going on dates with people that are enlightened in some sort of capacity. And then that also means too, like sexually, I'm satisfied. Like I have not had bad sex in years because I date in this way. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get, that's fucking awesome. Congratulations. Let's give some examples, right? Like what kind of questions, like real questions are you asking before you move from the app to texting? Because I think this could help a lot of people.
Totally. I'd say, well, number one, I disclose my herpes status in my profile directly. And I think that's important because it sort of puts it in the forefront. Like, if you're not okay with it, don't bother matching with me because, like, obviously I can't do anything about it. So we have like the sexual health conversations, like when was the last time you got tested? Do you know your herpes status, et cetera, et cetera. But I'd say in terms of like sexual compatibility, questions that I ask is like, okay, what are you into? What are your hard limits? What are some boundaries that you have? What are some interests that you have? Like, is there anything that's a fantasy that you want to turn into a desire? And I think that's huge for understanding like whether or not someone is adventurous or explorative. I think another key important question too, like I'm someone who prefers to date non-monogamously. And so I'm not necessarily compatible with someone who just wants one partner. And I think a lot of people don't realize that where you stand on relationship dynamics should be a non-negotiable. Like that should not be something that either person should have to like try
compromise.
You shouldn't have to compromise that. I think that's number one. And also family planning is not something that anyone should have to compromise on. And so I do dating very differently than everyone else. Like most dating coaches will tell you, don't talk about like babies, kids, family planning, future goals on the first date. And I'm like, why the fuck not? I'm not going to waste my time with someone who doesn't want kids, because for me, that's a non-negotiable. And so I think it's really important to get on the same page for that, whether it's non-monogamous or monogamous. And I think also, given the state of the world that we're in, with like not really having great access to abortion across the US and beyond, it's really important to talk about what were to happen if accidental pregnancy happens. So would you want to keep it? Would you want to have an abortion? And I know these are topics that are really uncomfortable, but I fully believe if you don't feel comfortable having these conversations, you shouldn't be having sex with these people anyways. And why are you wasting your time?
Yeah, I mean, the way you're describing it, right? Like the way you are listing off these things that you do when you date, it is like, when you look at it that way, like, oh, I guess that'd be a no-brainer. But when you put the emotion of being a human and this like fake niceties that culturally have been like societally, I guess, like pressed on us, it does really, it is a kind of a fucking clusterfuck, to be real, because we've been taught not to ask these things. Don't ask that before the date. Don't ask that on a first date. That's more of like a fourth or fifth date question. Like, no, it's not, right? It's like you wouldn't, and I hate to fucking make this analogy or metaphor. Never been able to discern the analogy from the metaphor, so we're just going to list both. But
Okay.
just say, you wouldn't like buy a car without asking, like, hey, this thing will run on, kerosene, right? Like you wouldn't ask those questions with those sorts of things. This is something more important than buying a car. This is who you're having sex with. This is potentially who you're going to spend a ton of time with. This is someone you're going to share intimate desires with. Why wouldn't you ask the important things, like up front? So do you think that it's just, and how much of what you do is like undoing that so other people can ask the same questions you ask?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, we're not taught that this is the way we should do things because we have limited access to sex education. And it's not like sex education talks about dating, and compatibility and emotional regulation and all of these things. And I think it's very interesting too, being in this space as a sex and relationship coach and seeing so many other people who are like, quote, quote, dating coaches, and they have their like one framework of like ways that you're supposed to do it. And like, part of why I'm here is to just like flip things on its head and be like, actually, that's not true. Actually, there is no rule book. Actually, you don't need to wait 3 days to respond to a text. Like, send that fucking triple text if that feels aligned to you. But also, like, if you're feeling anxious of someone not responding, maybe there's something for you to work on there. But I think in terms of having these conversations at the forefront, I mean, I think back to how it was to like date back when I was, I don't know, in like high school, college, early 20s. And I also had that same mindset to where like, teehee, I'm not going to reveal too much of what I actually want because I'm afraid that this person isn't going to like me. But I think when I was like 25, that's when I had my first experience with a partner who like gave me multiple orgasms, and that really like set my standard to where I was like, I'm not going to even go out with someone that doesn't like giving oral on a regular basis consistently. So someone who doesn't care about my pleasure is off the table. And I think just like having these conversations at the forefront, I realized like I wasn't really having a good time in the bedroom. But then when I started speaking up about what I actually wanted, that's when I started having good sex. And so I've been dating in this way for the past 5 years, and I have not had a single bad sexual experience in 5 years because I do all of the work before we meet in person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think whether you're a man or a woman, I think that cutting to the chase like that, it does eliminate all of the things that you aren't going to want in 6 months into it with the like, and they're gonna be like, well, you never told me. And it's like, well, I didn't want to scare you. It's like, well, no, just start with that. And then that way you figure out like the pool of people might be smaller, but they're going to be more quality. Right. And it's like putting a filter on your dating app of who you're interested in, except you're just doing it yourself. You're just weeding them out yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so before we continue, because usually in the beginning, we do this, but we got on such a good conversation kick that, we let the first 10 minutes go by. So
Perfect.
whatever. So for everybody who missed the first time you were on the show, everybody, maybe they got lost inside of an amusement park and they just found their way out, right? Or they're coming out of rehab or whatever it is for them.
Lived under a rock, perhaps.
Yeah, that's the old familiar one, right? They don't know who you are. They have not seen your first appearance here on Sex Party. Could you talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Totally. So my name is Catherine Drysdale. I'm a sex and relationship coach. I grew in popularity on TikTok through sharing like relatable sex education and also just like story time. I'm the person that you go to when you like want advice from someone who's kind of like that older sister kind of vibe, who's gonna like tell it to you straight, maybe a little TMI, which also is like, that's what makes me relatable. So like I share a lot of my personal experiences. I share a lot of what we missed in sex education. And I also went viral on TikTok talking about how I frequently have 30 or more orgasms every time I'm with a partner. And that course was featured in Cosmo and She Knows. So super exciting.
No, yeah, I bet. Jeez. That's amazing. Well, let's dive right into that one right there. I mean, 30 or more orgasms, like how did you discover this? One, right? And two, take it away, because I'm sure they can't wait to hear that.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, so there was this one partner that I had who, like, I'll be completely honest, he was a fuck buddy. We went on one single date, and this is like my mid 20s. I was a fuck girl back then. So I didn't want any intimacy. I wanted no connection, no pillow talk. Like, that's it. Like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I'm going to kick you out after you finish me. Like, you're gonna service me and then you're gonna go. Yeah, I wouldn't even allow my roster to booty call me. It had to be coming from me. And if you stepped out of line, you were out. So
professional. I like that. I appreciate that.
I ran a tight ship.
Yeah, you got to.
But this particular guy, like, our first date was not very, like, it was cute. Our first time we had sex was like, average. I think I came maybe like once, but it wasn't like great sex, but something told me to like keep giving him a chance. So I was like, okay. And so like the next time we had sex, I think I came like 3 times. Then the next time after that, 5. Then the next time after that, like 8, then 10, then 12. And then I think this was maybe only like a month into us like hooking up. And he says to me, he was like, Catherine, I really want to see how many orgasms I can give you for your birthday. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, not going to say no to that. And so he came over and we got up to 32 orgasms within 2 hours. And he did not come a single time because he was just there for me. And it was amazing because I feel like that was the first time that I realized truly that like my pleasure mattered. And also the first time that I allowed myself to be mindful and slow and sensual with my sexual experiences. I feel like a lot of the times I kind of like rush to the orgasm because I use sex, orgasm, masturbation as a way for like stress relief. But this time I was just like there laying back, enjoying the experience. And I realized like, oh, I can have nipple orgasms. Like, oh, I kind of have orgasms from like kissing my neck. Or wow, like I really like blended orgasms, which is like clitoral and like G-spot stimulation. So it's just like the whole time it was just about exploring what sensations felt good to me. And like he was keeping tally because I think also it's like an ego boost for him. Like, okay, let's fucking see. But honestly, it's like that experience was such a game changer that like that is what changed how I dated, how I hook up, how I have the conversations now. And I think shortly after that experience, I think there was a time where I was so sexually frustrated. And I think I called like 3 different guys over in one night. And the first one refused to go down on me, said he didn't know me long enough. The second one was like, I don't really do that. So kicked him out, kicked both of them out. The third one was like, yeah, I don't like it. So I was like, what the fuck? So that night is where I set my standard. And I'd say now I average probably just in foreplay, 10 orgasms. So before any penis goes anywhere near me. And then regularly with penetration, I have probably about 30 or more. I think the highest number I've gotten to recently, which was a couple months ago, I think it was like 70, which I didn't know was possible. But like, I guess the limit doesn't exist.
Okay, but do you think that every woman is capable of 32 orgasms?
I do.
Or are you okay?
I do. I think a lot of like the stats. So like, here's the stats with orgasms, right? So only about 18% of women can have an orgasm through penetration alone without clitoral stimulation. So I think like that's a huge misconception, is like, I think a lot of women feel like something's wrong with them because they're not coming from sex. When in reality, it's like, no, actually, you just need to focus on clitoral stimulation. But what a lot of people also don't know is that like the clitoris actually is the same erectile tissue as a penis. It just goes behind. So when you stimulate the clitoris, it allows like the erectile tissue to expand, making all sensation feel good. And the G-spot actually is the back of the clitoris, just from the inside. And so I think number one, like having a better foundation about like anatomy is really important. And like, we're not really taught about that. And like, you know, there's so many jokes out there, like men, oh, can't find the clit. Like, okay, come on, you're a fucking idiot. Like, stop. Like, no. Like, we know where the clit is. You don't need a map. Like, it's not some voyage to Mecca. Like, no.
Well, for some people, it's definitely a voyage to Mecca. Some people can't find their own penis. So, you know, I mean, there are some people that are in need of help out there. I mean, but I think they are doing a disservice to themselves by not wanting to learn, you know?
Well, and the thing is, it's like, get it. Like, I'm not trying to be dismissive of people who like genuinely don't understand, but also in the age of the world that we're in right now, there is so much access to information. Like, yes, we were failed when it comes to sex education, but like, how do most of us learn about sex? Through personal experience, through asking our friends, through porn, you know, or fucking good old Google. Like, what does an erection look like? What does the clitoris look like? You can find it in Google image search. You can find real life pictures of a vulva, the pubic mound, all the pubes, everything. You can find it all there. It's all there. Oh,
yeah. And I think
while I'm at it,
we're getting a visual aid. There we go. Yeah. It's right there.
Right here.
Yes.
Right here.
I won't even say what she's holding up for the audio.
This is the urethra. This is the clit. Don't
go watch it on YouTube after you're done listening. Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. And I think there is no excuse at all because of the, not just like the ways in which we find out, but like the embarrassingly, overwhelmingly the mountain of information that is available at any given fucking get off the fucking Candy Crush. Do people still play that? Whatever. Get off whatever.
I think you're dating us here.
Probably, yeah. But like, okay, stop swiping for 5 minutes on Field or Tinder or Bumble and go over, right? Stop trading Bitcoin for 1 minute. 1 minute and Google where's the clit. There you go. Yeah. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Because and I think, you know, you're right. Like most women don't, and we hear this from Susan Bratton, you know, our Lord and Savior, Susan Bratton. She always talks about how like a lot of women don't even realize that they have the potential to do what you said, like the 32 orgasms, and like also that it's all connected like that, and that it needs to be sort of stimulated or whatever. That is fascinating to me that people like, we are not that busy. I mean, you know, we are, but we're not that busy when it comes to that. I mean, do you attribute that just to laziness? I mean, 32 orgasms. I mean, was this what Wu-Tang Clan was talking about with 36 chambers, that there's 36?
I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really do think everyone has access to this. I think there's a lot of misinformation about like pleasure and female pleasure. And I think also like for women, like we're not taught that our pleasure matters. And I think there's still a lot of like embarrassment that women experience when it comes to exploring their own bodies. Like, we know, like there's so many jokes of like, it's the expectation when a boy turns like 12, right? He's going to start watching porn and start whacking it off, and like better watch out for the tube socks because like you might get an unhappy surprise, you know? But
yeah,
it's like,
I never understood that.
but that's like the expectation, right? Boys will be boys, but like, okay, but where does female pleasure come into it? And I think there was a recent study done, I think during COVID, and I think like 87% of women like age 18 plus have a vibrator or some sort of sex toy. So like women are masturbating, and most of them are. It's just how connected are they to their pleasure? I think another misconception too is I think for a lot of women, because it can be so challenging, they try to seek one way of doing something. And then once they find the one way that works, they keep it that way. They don't change anything up. They use the same hand, the same toy, the same position, the same lighting, the same lube, the this and the that. And they know like, okay, this toy is going to get me there in 5 minutes and then I'm done. And then that's all I need. And it's just one. And I think part of that is like, number one, giving yourself permission to explore new things. So maybe like using your other hand, using a different toy, changing up your body position, maybe masturbating in front of the mirror, like doing other things to help stimulate other sorts of sensation. And part of that is like introducing edging in there too, but also like mindfulness and breath work. And in order to experience multiple orgasms, it's like you really have to be mindful and slow things the fuck down before you can speed it up and have be able to come over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think that's really, really smart. I mean, I think it's okay to like get that greatest hit in there, you know, the same thing you do every day, get that out of the way first thing, right? And then go to a more explorative for the second round. I mean, I get it. It's fine, right? But you're right. Like people do get stuck in where they eat, what they listen to. We talked about Wu-Tang Clan, right? People are still, you know, and that's fine, but like maybe throw some other things in there too. And that comes, you know, with the territory with sex as well, as you can't like get stuck in the same sort of thing for the rest of your life. I mean, it's a boring fucking life. You and I chatted a bit in the DMs, I think last week, about having having an episode that was fun. Some of the topics that you said that you could talk about in this episode, ethical non-monogamy, right? So that's like one that we have definitely talked about on the show before. You kind of led into it nicely with talking about your dating and telling people like, you know, what your things are like up front, like this is who I am, this is the things that I do, this is what I'm looking for, which I think is huge, right? As a man, I've done that without a care in the world, and my friends thought I was nuts, but like, you know, when the relationship would turn sexual, it would always be, oh, what are you into, da, 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 da. And I always had this like thing. For me, it was like this, I needed to do this sort of sexual thing where it's like, I really loved to give women facials, like to come on their face, right? So I'm not going to just like hold that as a secret, right? And most people would wait until it's like, and they would whisper, I want to come in your face or whatever during sex. And like, that's fine. But for me, I kind of wanted to like make sure, you know, they knew what was up or whatever. So I would throw that out way early, and all my friends thought I was crazy, but it always worked in my favor. So I totally get it, right? So on that same tip, like, how are you working in ethical non-monogamy? Like that you want to be like exploring non-monogamous, like, you know, relationships, and that could be a possibility. And does that scare people off, do you think? Do you have a lot of people run?
I think it depends on the platform. So like on a platform like Fields, where the whole premise is for non-monogamy, I mean, it was started for polyamorous partners who wanted to explore with other people. So that's foundational to the app. So on Field, it's super easy. I'd say probably, I don't know, maybe 70%. I don't know the actual stat. Like, don't quote me on this, but just based on my observation using Fields in multiple major cities, I'd say probably about 70% are either non-monogamous in the fact that they have an established partner already, or they're solo poly or solo ENF. And I'd say that's more of what I guess identify as. But there it's definitely more common. On other more vanilla apps like Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, obviously, yes, there's going to be some pushback there. Like I've definitely had people, I like re-downloaded Hinge. I hate Hinge. It's my least favorite dating app. I've always hated it. Ugh, it's like way too vanilla for me. But yeah. I re-downloaded it a few months ago when I first moved here just to like suss out, see maybe a new city, maybe I'll like it better. No, I had people who matched me and then they realized because I put in like, I want a life partner, but I want non-monogamy. And like, so I'm very specific with what I want. And then they're like, oh, I didn't see that you're non-monogamous. And then they unmatch me, which like, to me, I welcome people unmatching me. Cause like, if you know, it's not going to be a fit and we're not compatible, we're not compatible. But I'd say most of the time it's not an issue. Sometimes there'll be people who are like, actually, I prefer to be more monogamous, but that's also where dynamics like cuckolding and stuff like that come into play. I'm like, okay, like if you want to be monogamous to me, like that's fine. Like I'll date who I want. But I think there's also too like this misconception that just because you're non-monogamous means that you're just fucking everyone all of the time. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I think it's really important, especially in open relationships, whether it's poly, non-monogamous, whatever you want to call it, there has to be a foundation and level of trust and open communication and renegotiation of boundaries constantly, because you might go into a situation thinking you know what you want, but also like maybe there's instances of like jealousy, or you're realizing that like you're not getting your needs met within this relationship. Like, okay, like how can we course correct and adjust so that everyone is fully consenting to this experience? And I think people also don't understand like cheating can happen in non-monogamy. My very first relationship, so when I was 14, was non-monogamous, and I was cheated on by that partner because our rules that we came up with together was we can fuck who we wanted, we could date who we wanted, but we had to tell each other about it, and then it couldn't be any of our mutuals. So it couldn't be any of our friends. It couldn't be anyone that we introduced each other to. And this partner at the time, like, ended up hooking up with one of my friends and then dumped me on Skype. This was like back in high school. We were like kind of long distance at the time. And I ended up like breaking my computer because I threw it. I was so mad.
Oh my God. No more Candy Crush for you.
It was finals week. Yeah, no, I get really, I can be very, very reactive. I think my family were cheating at a game of Risk, and I flipped the table. I was so mad. I was like, fuck all of you. No one gets to play.
What was the reaction to that?
What, my family upset?
Like flipping the table upside, did they laugh or were they like, Jesus Christ?
No, they were just like, Catherine, what the fuck? And I excused myself. I went up to my room. And then my sister's like, you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Why is everyone cheating? I'm the only one with integrity here.
Yeah, no, that's fucking awesome. I mean, and to go back to the dating apps, right? Like Hinge to me always felt like I was doing a book report. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Why? what are all these prompts? Like, I'm done. Like, just show me somebody who's cute and smart. Like, come on, let's go. Right. And then Bumble to me was always like incredibly watered down, and it just kept getting more and more watered down, like more ads. It was always somebody who wanted that, like you said, like that vanilla relationship. So I could totally see how. I did have a couple ethical non-monogamists hit me up on Bumble, so I'll give them that. But for the most part, those two apps seem like they've kind of slid into a weird more conservative place.
Yeah. And I will say, like, there are people on all apps looking for all kinds of things, but I'd say it's less common. Like, I was seeing someone when I lived in Austin who was into cuckolding that I met from Bumble. But yeah, that has some issues.
Like what? What were the issues? You brought it up.
Oh dear. Oh dear. What did I do?
Well, first, okay, because your definition may be slightly different. Let's just define what cuckolding is from you.
Yeah. So cuckolding essentially is this dynamic where it like originated from kind of like a man being cheated on by his wife, like fucking other people who are like hotter, bigger dicks, stronger. Maybe they make more money, whatever. But it like started as a kink where like this husband like knows that his wife is getting pounded out by other people and he's unable to satisfy her. Obviously, this dynamic can exist regardless of where you are on your sexuality spectrum. So you can be like gay, pan, bi, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's just how it like originated. And then it's also taken off in like different capacities. But I'd say some elements that are consistent with cuckolding. There's some elements of like voyeurism there, humiliation, because sometimes they like to just know that their partner is going out. Sometimes they actually facilitate and like set up dates for their partner. Sometimes they sit in that little cuck chair in the corner of the hotel room watching, which like we know the chair, it's always there.
Yeah.
And sometimes they want to participate and clean up, and like that's okay too. But I've definitely seen a huge rise in interest in cuckolding over the last year. And I'd say not most, but maybe like 20-30% of the men that I match with on Fields have some sort of interest in cuckolding or hot wifing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this gentleman that you met, that you said things got super weird or whatever you said, things got messy.
Very challenging, problematic. Yeah.
Okay. How so?
Well, so right off the bat, I was like, he kind of was the first person that I met that had like similar interests to me, where I was like, okay, like we're actually on the same page in terms of like future goals, like wanting non-monogamy. I think he asked a question on like, what's one of my fantasies? And I was like, I want to go to a sex club and I want my partner to watch me get fucked by other people. And he was like, okay, yes, sign me up. I'm still waiting for that fantasy to happen. I haven't been to a sex club with a partner yet. So that's something that's on my list for this year. But I was like, okay, we're starting off strong. Then like things start getting a little sticky to where he has a very particular kink, which we don't kink shame here, but it was very evident that it wasn't for me. And this also can be common in a lot of cuckolding dynamics where there might be elements of like race play. So sometimes the cuck, like the husband, wants their partner to have sex with like a black man because they're big black dick. But in this instance, it wasn't just like race play here and there. It was, I want you to subscribe to the BNWO, which if you're not familiar with that, it's the Black New World Order. So this idea that Black people need to reclaim the world and little white boys just need to be caged up and be slaves to their master, which are the Black men. And like, they're going to have basically the white population is going to die because the only babies are going to be from these Black men fucking their wives. So, yeah. So that was the element. I don't even know.
Like, we'll find it. We'll figure it out. YouTube's going to love this episode. This is great. So is this, Is this more? But this is more of like a kink, an extreme kink thing, or is this a real?
I don't know. I don't know that I could categorize it. I think like I wouldn't necessarily call it extreme because like any kink, like I'd say, well, so like a kink is something that interests you, that gets you off. But you don't need it all the time. A fetish is something that you need in order to get off. And so I think it depends on like where you are and where you fall on that spectrum. Like, can you only get off when you think about a black man fucking your wife? Then that could be a fetish. But is it wrong? Is it extreme? No, nothing's wrong, right? As long as it's fully consensual, not hurting people. Where it became uncomfortable for me, where I was like, okay, well, like, I don't fetishize races of people. I've fucked men from all different kinds of cultures. Like, I'm attracted to all sorts of people, but like, I don't feel comfortable only singling people out because they're black. Like, that doesn't feel comfortable for me. And I think it got to the point too, where like, he was asking me like, oh, well, in the future, I want to have a live-in bull and I want to raise these little black babies. And I was like, well, that's not something I want. Like, I want to have kids with my actual partner, not someone in this kink dynamic. Like, that didn't feel good to me. And then I think there was other elements at play too, to where I think he's internalized like biphobia for himself. And so he likes to be pounded out by big black cock, which, you know, that's fine. I love bi men. I love bi men. There's nothing wrong with them. But I think he had so much internalized shame and internalized homophobia to where he never admitted it to anyone other than me. And it got to the point where like, I was like, okay, well, if we're going to move forward in this relationship, like, that's fine. We need to figure out like a safe way for you to do this. But also, because I know like gay culture, most men don't wear condoms when they're having like sex. I was like, I need to get on PrEP. And so in order for me to do that, which like, just disclaimer, PrEP is a medication that helps prevent like HIV. And it's a misconception. You think that only men can use it, but women can too, or people with vulvas. But it takes longer for it to develop in your system. So I told him, I was like, look, like, if this is going to work out, like, I need to protect myself because like what you do could potentially put me at risk, and like, not shaming, but I'm just trying to take care of myself too. But it takes 21 days for it to work in your system. So like, can you not fuck someone? Can you not get pounded out and cream pied for 21 days while these medications start to work? And he was like, I don't know. And so I was like, okay, well, so you're doing all this risky behavior. You have no concern for my health. Like, there's no foundation of trust. Like, this isn't really a dynamic that like works for me. So I was like, I'm done. See you later. You probably should see someone for like help working through some of this. Cause like, that's just not the role that I want to play. And I also just don't like playing coach in my relationships. Like, that's not hot to me. Like, I don't want to do that. Separate boundaries.
Yeah. Well, and when I asked if it was like a real thing, I think what I meant was like the organization, the BNWO.
Yes. It is a real organization. It really exists. On the Moan app, there was a community there where someone would host chats for the BNWO on a fairly regular basis. So,
but it's like, it's more of like a sexual fetish based organization. Maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Yes, and as Ariana Grande would say.
Yes, and.
Okay. Well, I mean, what a fucking interesting story. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's your experience. And I think it's important to fucking hear shit from all over the place. It's important to, when you're in a relationship and you truly are trying to be someone's partner, it could go anywhere, obviously, right? Look where that went, right? Yeah. And so I think people don't, again, we go back to this like societal norm, boring vanilla bullshit where it's like, oh, you get with somebody, you get to know them. Oh, they drink a lot. Oh, maybe they'll get help. Maybe they want, and then it's like boring, you know, and that's like that. That's it. That's the, people don't anticipate like when you find a partner that you resonate with and okay, these boxes are checked, that we match here, we're aligned here. Anything can happen. They can have any kind of desire, any kind of thought. They can be any kind of a person. They could be Walter fucking White for all you know, and like it's basically like you're on this thing with them to figure out whether you're compatible or not. And I think I love stories like that. I love real things from relationships that people have gone through on the show, because I think it helps illuminate the fact that anything can happen, kids. I mean, anything can happen at the sex party. That's why I'm doing this goddamn show.
Yeah.
Another thing you mentioned too when we were DMing last week about fun ideas. This is an exact quote from Catherine Drysdale. I have men come clean my apartment and do errands for me from time to time. Do you want to? And then you said service subs, LOL. Okay, yeah. So like, what's a service sub? Talk to me about the cleaning people. I gotta hear this.
Great way to get free labor. Just kidding. Fully consensual. No, I love service subs. I have such a soft spot for service subs. So for anyone who doesn't know what it is a dynamic within like BDSM. And I think there's a huge misconception that like BDSM has to be like whips and chains. It also can be dynamics that are like power exchange, which I personally really like. I don't really like giving pain yet. We'll see.
You'll get there.
We'll see. Slowly easing into it. But it's the role where the submissive is someone who likes to serve the person that is their like dominant, if that makes sense. But I think it's important to distinguish that everyone who's a submissive might not like doing actual acts of service. So for me, like my primary love language is acts of service. So like in general, in relationships, I love it when a partner will like do things for me that make my life easier. Like, walking my dog, picking up my laundry, like grabbing my favorite snack, stuff like that. So it's like, those are stuff like, that's what makes me feel loved anyways. And when I realized like, oh, I can find this within a dynamic that's sexual, that like doesn't have any feelings attached to it, hell yeah, sign me up. So yeah, but like the dynamic doesn't have to be like impact, bondage, whatever, although it can. It really just depends. The first time I had a service sub, I think I was like 23 living in LA. And this guy, I think I matched with him on Tinder maybe, because this was before I knew like Field existed. And he would come over, he would normally bring me food because that's what I'd ask for. Bring me food, bring me flowers, and then he would do my chores. So he would do all of my dishes. He would fold my laundry, although he was really bad at folding laundry, and I always got mad because I had to refold it because I'm neurotic. But like,
that's
he would
awesome.
like run me a bath. So one time he came over and I just was in the bath the whole time, and then I sent him on his way. I was like, I don't feel like rewarding you, so like you get to go now. So just like, it depends. And then sometimes I would let him like worship my feet. So that's like a foot rub. I think I let him go down on me once. Like worship is something that I really enjoy within this dynamic. But at that time, he wanted something a little more humiliation than I was comfortable with. Like he wanted to come over and clean wearing like a tiny little man thong and have me use him as a footstool. And so back then I was 23, I was learning to be more dominant, but I wasn't super comfortable with it. So that didn't end up working out. Then when I was leaving Austin, I found this guy so I don't remember which app, but like he asked if I needed anything. I was like, yeah, you want to come pack my apartment for me? So like my last night in Austin, I had this guy come over. He was at my place for like, I don't know, 8 hours, brought over some ciders, and he literally packed 2 of my suitcases. And then I was horny. So like we fucked for 5 hours. I came like 50 times and it was great. It was amazing. And then more recently, since moving to New York, I was sick, and this guy matched with on Fields. He really likes doing like service tasks, like building shit. And I was sick at the time, wasn't sure if it was COVID or not, but he came, took the train over to where I was living in Jersey City, and he picked up my prescriptions from Target, from CVS, picked up my groceries, walked my dog while I took a COVID test to make sure, because I was like, I'm not going to let you in here if I'm actually sick. And then I like texted him. I was like, okay, you can come back now. I'm fine. But at the time I was like, okay, I'm still sick. Like, we're not going to do any touching. So I let him choose one of my lingerie in my drawer, and I tried it on for him, and I let him take his own photos of me. But that was really fun. He's actually been texting me
I bet.
every week for the past few weeks, because he really wants a prostate massage and he wants to be pegged. But we're trying to like figure that out. So we'll see. But like, I love men who like to be of service, and I love a service sub. It's so much fun.
Well, I think the women that are listening or watching, if we're still on YouTube at this point, but unless we've been ripped off of there, but I think the audience, the women in the audience want to know like what the process looks like to get a service sub to come to you, walk your dog, fold your laundry in all kinds of fucked up ways, and yeah, and I think the men are wondering, is there such thing as a female service sub? So 2 questions.
Well, I think in general, like, service sub doesn't have to be gender specific. So there are lots of people who like to be submissive and use acts of service as part of their submission. So it doesn't matter regarding gender. But that's where it's really important to have those conversations like prior to. So like, I think I put in my profile, I think I updated it recently. I think at one point I was looking more for like pleasure doms, and I think I updated it recently to say like, love men who like to be of service, whether it's dom or submissive, because I'm a switch. I'm like, I like it. I like the switch up. I like it both. But so having it more specific in your profile, if you're using Field or whatnot, I know not everyone feels comfortable with that, but then also having the conversations like in your messages before you meet up. Like, I will say like, okay, like, what acts of service do you like? What are your hard limits? What do you like to be called? Because some people are into the humiliation, which now I'm much more comfortable with that. It's like, if you want me to call you a disgusting little pig and a little slut, and your little hole is so tight and so gross, and like, why would anyone look at it? Like, sure, I'll talk down to you. If that makes you feel good, your dick is so small, like, you need to be caged. Like, that can't give anyone pleasure. Sure.
Yeah, but okay, but also like, let's be real. Don't you think that like a female service sub is probably rare as fuck, or no?
No, I mean,
Okay.
If you think about it, how have women been raised in society? To be the submissive, domesticated, good little wifey. So they exist. However, I think when it's like men in that position of power within the BDSM, or really anyone in that position of power, it's like, it's your role as the person who is the dominant one to ensure safety for your submissive. So that means like asking like, what do you need for aftercare? Like, what are some words that I can't call you? Like, what are some things that you don't want to do? Like, so it's like having all of those conversations. But I think like it is common, whether it's a woman who's submissive, a man who's submissive, a non-binary person, it doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. But it's like, it's your job as the person who's taking that dominant role to ensure safety, and also like checking in. And I really like using like the stoplight method. So red, yellow, green for safe words instead of just a safe word, because when you get to yellow, then you can renegotiate. But it exists regardless of gender and sexual orientation.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just hard to yell peaches depending on what
Yeah.
position you're in.
Yeah.
It's like
Is
if the
that
word is
that your safe
too
word?
long. What's funny is Gianna and I. Well, the last one we talked about was plums. For whatever reason, it's like no one would say that during, but like the color thing is like that's such a pro move because they're short, right, and they're very easy to discern. Like sometimes you never know, banana, plums, whatever. Yeah. Well, I think this is another thing too that we come across a lot on the show. We haven't in a while, but like the name of the game should be, if you're a dom, right? If you're a dominant person, should be to make your partner feel safe. And like, especially, and again, just speaking from what I know, like making a woman feel safe, that unlocks so many things you don't even realize. And so I think a lot of men, they go to this place where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna be like super, dominant and like grab her and do this or do that or whatever. It's like you can't do that until you've already established this sort of level of safety where she really truly does feel safe. And I think for a lot of people, they don't grasp that.
Yeah. I think like there's a huge misconception out there too. Like even on sex positive apps like Fields, like there's a lot of fake doms out there who like expect you to just like submit blindly, or they want a sex slave or whatever, and they just want like blanket total power exchange, full submission. And like that is super problematic and like not actually accurate on like what it's like to be in this lifestyle and living in these roles. So I think it's like important to like have that negotiation process. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that it's like the dominant that has all the energy and the power, but it's actually the submissive calls the shots. The submissive sets their boundaries, and it's the dom's role to like fulfill them and keep them safe.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also miss the fact that like, a good dynamic is a power exchange. A dom is like, you're exchanging power. And I think you're right. It is a lot more equal than people would give credit to, and it is, in the bedroom, I'm Mr. Dom, right? And in my life, I'm like, I don't like that. I'm not gonna eat that. I don't want this, whatever. But like, but also at the same time, like I have no interest whatsoever in controlling what a partner does outside of the bedroom, out in with their life, or why are you talking to that guy? Like I just sort of detached from that way of being, a long time ago, and seen like what some of my less fortunate friends will say have gone through, like in marriages that didn't work out and relationships. And I think you bring up a really great point that it is like a conversation. It's like you said in the beginning of this, it has to be honest. You have to like talk about your desires and what you want, sure, but also like what you're not willing to put up with. That seems like stuff that nobody talks about in the beginning.
Yeah. And like no one talks about it because they're afraid, right? They're afraid that their partner is going to leave them or not be interested if they actually express their boundaries. But it's also like if you are afraid to express how you really feel with your partner, again, going back to what we said at the beginning, like that shouldn't be someone that's your partner anyways. If you don't feel comfortable to honestly have a conversation, why are you dating this person? Why are you in a relationship with this person? Why are you married to this person? And I think a lot of people have this misconception that like, okay, they want like a dominant masculine man, but that doesn't mean he gets to control your entire life. Like there was someone who commented on one of my TikToks, I think it was last night, saying that she's now going through a divorce because her husband is upset that she bought some rubber toy. And I'm like, point blank, if your partner is upset about you getting a toy, they don't care about your pleasure at all. And they're probably selfish in and out of the bedroom. So like, it's actually to your benefit to leave this relationship. Like, thank God this person told you and showed you who they truly are. And I think like a lot of the times it's like women put up with these situations because they feel like that's what a relationship should do. And I think there's a lot of this like rhetoric. I think especially on TikTok, I don't know about Instagram, but like there's been a huge surge and like a lot of women wanting to go back to this like feminine energy. And I just want to be in my feminine and soft life. And like, that's great. Life's about balance though. But it's like for you to be in your feminine doesn't mean submissive all of the time, doesn't mean your partner gets to control everything that you do. And I think like being more mindful of that, like, okay, you can still have your boundaries, you can still set your expectations and have a partner who cares and upholds it. And if they're not doing that stuff, then that's controlling. And it could also be borderline abusive. Emotional abuse is still abuse.
Yeah, no, totally. And we should just get this out here at the end too. Like, this is important to remember. Like, if your partner's threatened by sex toys, then you should really truly think about finding some way to communicate the message that those things are not a threat. Those things are not taking away from your womanhood, manhood, whatever hood. Right? Like, I think like those things are your best friend when it comes to pleasure in the bedroom. Between one person, two people, 10 people, you got to have an understanding, I think, in 2024 of this idea that like sex toys, it doesn't take anything away, it just adds.
100%. And I think like to follow up with that too, like I think there's been a lot of people that I've been seeing too in terms of like their relationship to like porn or their partner not watching porn because they feel like their partner should only be attracted to them. And it's like, I think when we're doing that, when we're feeling like we need to control our partner's behavior, that means that number one, we don't actually trust them. And then number two is showing some sort of like insecurity there. When in reality, what actually needs to be done is like sitting with yourself and like, why is this something that makes me feel insecure? Like, is there a different boundary that I can make instead of like policing my partner's behavior? And I think that's also a misconception with boundaries. We think like, oh, this person has to follow this in order to be in my energy. And it's like, no, those are your standards and people can either follow them or not, but emphasis on the not. They don't have to. If it doesn't align with them, you can't just like blanket say you can't watch porn and that's it. Like, sorry, you don't control your partner's pleasure and vice versa. It's their own. Like, people have autonomy for their own bodies and their own pleasure.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you said that. That's so fucking huge. And it comes from both sides of a relationship. And there is some underlying like weird kind of mistrust thing that I think is at the baseline of that, or you know, that there's something very selfish about that, you know. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Before we discontinue this episode, before we end this thing, we bring the curtain down. Let's say there's somebody out there, they want to be more in their power like you are, right? And you've talked throughout this episode about, you know, how it's a process, and you weren't there at a certain place early on. Now you're leaning more into these things. So it's been a growing learning process. How can somebody, whether they're male, female, you know, identifying as whatever gender they want, how can someone get more like you, get more into your sexual desire power?
That's a great question. I think for anyone, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, or otherwise, it's really important to give yourself permission to explore. And I think the biggest part of that is like creating that awareness of like what's working and what's not working in my life. And also, things can be good, but things can also be better. So giving yourself permission to explore, giving yourself permission to go on this self-discovery journey, this allows you a greater capacity for pleasure, intimacy, connection, and communication. So coming into your life with that at the forefront, and also realizing if things aren't working anymore, like it's okay to course correct. It's okay to change things. It's okay to leave relationships. It's okay to change your dynamic in the bedroom. Just because you've been a dom for your whole life doesn't mean you can't be a little dirty service sub. Like, you can be whatever you want. And so I think that's important. And I think also like finding support is really important too. A lot of people think that like, oh, sex is shameful. It's something that I should experience myself or work through myself. But like, actually, maybe working with someone that's actually going to help you, you know, whether it's a sex coach like me or a sex therapist or, you know, peer groups or whatever. Find someone that's a trusted individual that doesn't shame you for the things that you like and allow you to keep exploring. I think there's other ways too. Like I have my multi-orgasmic course. I'm going to do a code for sex party for 20% off. So if you're, if you're a vulva haver or have a vulva women or you have sex with women, it's for you because it helps you please women. So love that. But I think it's really allowing yourself to explore and communicating your desires, whether that's in the bedroom, whether that's through dating, whether that's in your relationship. You just got to keep communicating it and allow yourself to change over time. That's really it. I know that was a little long-winded.
No, not at all. God damn. Catherine Drysdale. No, I think that's amazing. And I thank you for being on the show again. You always bring the heat every single time. And I love that about you. We're going to make sure that we don't wait as long to get you back on the show, because what a crime that would be. Let's remind these people, these party goers, where they can follow you on social, where they can work with you, where they can be your service sub. They can they can learn how to have 72 orgasms.
Yeah. So the best way to find me, I'm on TikTok and Instagram at I am Catherine Drysdale. That's CATHERINE DRYSDALE. My bio link has everything you need to connect with me, whether that's to book a free consultation to work together one-on-one. That's where you'd find my multi-orgasmic course. That's where you'd find my sex magic course, which is manifesting with your orgasms. It's super fun. It has a 30-minute guided masturbation experience that is just like amazing. And then I also just recently added a dating profile audit. So like if you're wanting to shift your dating strategy, like that's a great way to do it. I look at your bio, help you figure out better photos and whatnot so that you can actually start matching with people that are aligned with what you want. But yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
We will make sure everything is linked. Catherine Drysdale, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll see you so soon.
Thank you so much.
Big thank you to my guest, Catherine Drysdale, for being with me again on Sex Party. Make sure you go check out everything she's doing. Go and use the code to buy the orgasm guide, for God's sake, right? If you're a man, you can give more orgasms. If you're a woman, you can have more orgasms. Go get that fucking thing. If you guys are enjoying Sex Party, you're loving guests like Catherine, you want to show some love, some desire, some appreciation, you need more Sex Party. What can you do? Well, if you're listening on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you can subscribe to the show. That's the most important. You could also leave a rating. You could leave a review. Those are less important. You want to be subscribed because every single Wednesday we release a new episode without fail every single Wednesday. If you're watching on YouTube, if you got off on going over and cleaning someone's apartment, would you wear some sort of outfit, a wig or a G-string or something? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like this video. You can like all the videos. But the most important thing you can do is subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. Like I said, every single Wednesday. I'm available in the DMs on Instagram. And as always, I will see you all back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin at Dustin Rybka.